Hi, we're going to talk about songwriting. So I know that you had a book at the school, but what I want you to do is I want you to start a new book. So a new idea book. And what's great about having it at home is that you can go ahead and write down the ideas as they come to you. So it'll be completely different. I don't want you to try to copy what it was you did before. This is totally fresh, new ideas. So the songs that you were already writing, we'll work on those eventually, but for right now, let's just go ahead and do some new stuff. All right, so the first thing I want you to do is get a book, a plain book, like a composition book, notebook, and then later on, we'll go ahead and send you some copies of sheet music that you can print out, and you can use those in a sheet music book that you can make up later once we've gotten some actual song lyrics written. So first we're doing ideas. So remember how we started with our ideas. I know that when we first did this, some people really understood the idea of writing down your thoughts, and some people were just kind of weren't quite sure why or what those words were going to be used for. But now that we've actually written a song, I think that now you understand what those ideas are for in the first place. So this time it should be much easier. So what I want you to do is have each page just full of ideas. You can draw pictures for your ideas. You could cut out pictures from magazines that inspire you. You could do anything like that you want in this book. It's yours. So as far as the words go, though, I'm really all about the words. So like, for example, I might want to write about my cat. And here's my cat. Reese's. Reese's. Hi, kitty. Yeah. So my kitty is a dum-dum. So I might write, for Reese's, I might write a song, Reese's. And I could say orange, dumb, fluffy, long tail, big paws, whiskers, ears, stripes, wild, ridiculous, silly, clumsy, and graceful, fast, feisty, and hungry. So those might be all words I would write down about him. And then after I've written down those ideas, I'm going to go through and I'm going to say, you know what? I want to talk mostly about how he is like a wildcat. And so I'm going to look at the words that were mostly about that, about him. And I'm going to pull those words out. I'm going to put them on the next page. And on the next page, I'm going to write those words. And then I'm going to come up with rhyming words for each one of those. Remember we talked about rhyming words. The end sounds the same, right? So I might say, like that he's, if I was writing about, let's see, one of the words that I came up with was wild. I could say that he's wild, and wild rhymes with child, filed, mild, beguiled. Ooh. So I can come up with a lot of different rhyming words. Now you can use the internet to help you with rhyming words, and you can also ask someone else in your family to help you and make it like a group effort if you want to. But the internet's a good source for rhyming words if you're having trouble coming up with any. Some words are really hard to rhyme. We've talked about that, like orange. Not easy to rhyme orange. California, really hard to rhyme some things. So in those cases, we don't get rid of those words. We're going to use those words somewhere else in our storytelling, just not at the ends where we put the rhymes. We put the rhyming words at the ends of things. Now that you've got a bunch of rhyming words, you can decide which of those rhyming words make sense. So if I had wild, mild, child, beguiled, styled, I think I might go with beguiled. Reese's acted like he was in the wild. His eyes were big and he was beguiled. Something like that. So I'll decide which of those words I really like, and I'll try using them and try putting them into sentences like that. Sentences that end with rhymes. Now, remember we've talked about the way you put your rhymes together. You can do what's called rhyming couplets, where I put like that, one sentence rhyme, second sentence rhyme. Or we could do one sentence, second sentence rhyme, 1 second, second sentence rhyme. Or there's a song I want you to look at the style of. It's called Let It Be by the Beatles. And on that one, it's got a really interesting rhyme. It's called a rhyme scheme. the way that a poem is written and the way that the rhymes line up with each other, which lines they're on, how the whole poem flows. It's called rhyme scheme. And Let It Be has a really unusual rhyme scheme, so I want you to look at that one. And then I also want you to look at Johnny Be Good, which has just simple rhyming couplets, each one of them simple like a greeting card. Okay, I'll give you some more rhyming schemes later, but if you look at those two right now, you'll see what I'm talking about, that it doesn't have to be like Johnny Be Good. It can be like Let It Be, or something else in between. Then we've also talked about before, well, what if you don't like the rhymes? What if rhyming is not your thing? And we talked about blank verse. And we talked about, there's another word for that, it's also called free verse. And with blank verse and free verse, you can write whatever you want in whatever order you want, with whatever rhythm you want, and you let the music do the work for you later. So that's another way of doing it. And I think did I have an example of that for you? Oh, I have an example of a blank verse poem. This is by a poet named Langston Hughes, Langston, Hughes, Hughes. And if you go online, it'll say, listen. And if you listen to it says, listen to the song. Now, interestingly enough, it is not a song with any music to it. It's a song in reference to the way the poetry feels. So in this case, this one's read out loud by Master Academy Award winning Viola Davis, and it's outstanding. So, and that'll give you an idea of what blank verse is and how it frees you up to express emotions in kind of a better way. So if you're writing a really emotional, deep, charged, moody song, you might want to choose blank verse, because sometimes rhymes end up sounding a little too, the word is contrived. That means you were trying a little too hard to make something fit into a mold. And sometimes those rhyming songs don't hit such a deep, resonant, emotional place for people. The blank verse usually works a little better for that. Not to say you can't have a rhyming song that's deep, but I'm just saying, if it's a nice, happy-go-lucky song, that's the one that's going to rhyme for you, okay? The next thing is that you make those sentences fit a rhythm. So we talked about whether you were going to write things with 4 counts per measure or 3 counts per measure. Mostly we're going to be writing stuff with 4 counts per measure. I'm going to talk a lot more about that next week. We're going to specifically be talking about rhythm and how to break down rhythm. So you're going to hear a lot more. But for right now, just remember how we were writing sentences the last time we did this, and we tried to make the sentences fit into 8 quarter counts. So 8 even counts, 2 measures put together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm gonna write a poem that fits that. I'm gonna write a poem that fits that. Does that make sense? So then once you've done that, take any sentence. What did I say about Reese's? I have a cat, he's very wild, something like that. I have a cat, he's very wild, right? Then I can add on the, he has big eyes, he looks beguiled. He has big eyes, he looks beguiled, okay? But I can also have a sentence as short as, my cat's Reese's. My cat's Reese's, okay? So that fits as well, right? So you make your sentences fit into that little section. Okay, now all music isn't like that. Some music, the sentence goes on and goes into some other measures. But for right now, for us, let's just do it this way so we understand the mechanical part of how this works. And then we'll move on later to something that's a little less structured, okay? So that's what I want you to do for this week, is write some new ideas, new idea page, write some words, get some rhymes, decide which things go together, make some sentences. And the other things that you want to do in this structure, figure out your tone, your mood, and your style. Is this going to be a rock song, a ballad? Is this going to be for musical theater? Is this going to be a rap song? What kind of song? A rock and roll song? What kind of song is this going to be? And that will help you when you're working out your rhythms. So a ballad, you're going to want long notes for things, short sentences that are drawn out. And for pop, you're going to want lots of words, really short. And for rock, somewhere in between. Okay? So, and then your mood, is it going to be happy? So are you going to do a lot of bright things like happy words? Or is it going to be something really moody and internal and personal and earth-shaking? You know, what's it going to be? So those are the questions I want you to answer for yourself as you're writing. And then once you get those sentences in place, next week we will also talk more about remembering how we structure verses and bridges and choruses. So we'll decide with those sentences where we want them to be. Do we want to repeat them in a chorus? Or do we want to do a really weird thing like a bridge? Or do we want to just make it be part of the story, normal storytelling in the verse? Okay, so I'll talk to you next week.